Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sikha Saran Shir. My name is Effie, and today we're going to be doing Sikha number 95. So this is a great piece. We're going to talk about our personal missions. We're going to talk about the way to get there. It's going to have plenty of physic in it. So let's roll. Let's begin. Okay. So here we go. Sikha 95 and Sikha Saran. A person's name is determined according to his mission in life. Sometimes a person completes his mission before his destined time to die. He must then be given a new name. A person's name is the garment of his soul after his death. A name is a garment. It is written, I am God, that is my name and my glory, from Yeshaya. Glory is a garment. Thus, Rebbe Yochanan would call his clothing my glory. So Rebbe Nachman tells us that a person, whatever a person's name is, whatever their given name is, that has something to do with their soul neshama, it's their garment, and it has to do with their personal mission in life. God is called by Tetragrammaton, Yud K Vav K. This name comes from a root meaning existence. It is this name that gives existence to all creation. So by calling Hashem Yud K Vav K, and I'm just gonna, it's Yud Hey Vav Hey, by calling Hashem by that name, then it gives existence to all creation. There's some power in that name that creates everything that we see in here. However, above all worlds, God has no name. This is a realm where he cannot be grasped at all. It is written, for you magnified your word over your name, from Tehillim. God's action is the saying with which he created the world. Your word is therefore God's action. God has actions that are above all worlds. By virtue of these actions, God is above all worlds and greater than all his names. In the realm that is above all worlds, he has no name at all. This is the meaning of, for you magnified your word over your name. So we relate to Hashem through Yud K Vav K, but really there's all these higher realms of worlds that Hashem is king of, and there's even a world so high that even like the Malachim, nobody's there. Hashem Levado, he's by himself, and nobody could even grasp his name or grasp him there. And it's such a high place that nobody could connect to it, basically. Okay. It is written that in the world to come, nations will see your righteousness and they will call you by a new name, from Yeshaya. At that time, the nations will perceive the true mission of the Jews and will therefore give them a new name. So God willing, when Mashiach comes in the world to come, we're gonna be like on a different playing field, that we're even gonna have to get a new name, because B'nai Yisrael isn't gonna suffice for our essence, for our mission. There are people who complete the mission associated with their name in the middle of their lifetime. They are then given a new mission and hence a new name. This concept contains many deep and awesome secrets. So some people, they finish what they're meant to do here earlier than their lifespan. And when that happens, they need a new name. They need a new mission. It is customary to give a new name to a dangerously ill person. The sick person has already fulfilled his destiny according to his original name and is therefore ready to die. We then give him a new name, thereby also giving him a new mission. The sick person can now continue to live and to complete the mission associated with his new name. So when we see that a person is very sick and terminally ill, it's customary to give them a new name, because we're just assuming that they already completed their original mission that was connected with their name, and now they need to move on to their second mission in life. So by giving them the second name, we're hoping that Hashem will give them more time to move on to this other mission in life. Our sages say that Moses had many names. Moses had many missions in life. Therefore, he required a different name for each one of his great tasks. So we learn that also Moshe had a lot of names because he had so many different roles to play. And he needed a different name for each one of these missions. So, great piece. I heard, I actually was listening to a Rav Weinberger shir, Rav Moshe Weinberger, on names, and he was saying that at the end of a person's life, when they enter Olam Haba, when they enter the world to come, Hashem asks them, so what's your name? And apparently it's a big deal to remember your name, because what's Hashem, from this we can understand, what's Hashem really asking? Hashem's asking, did you complete your mission? Did you complete what you were sent down here for? Because that is connected to your name. That's your essence. And Moshe Weinberger was saying, he said that it's brought down in many Sfarim, that if a person can't remember his name, then the Malachim come and they take him to Olam HaTohu. And this is obviously a bad place, and the soul gets lost there. So he also mentions that there's a skula to remember your name, and I guess to like inspire you to do your mission. The Shlug gives this skula, and it's when you say Shmona Esrei and you take your 3 steps back and you say a pasuk of Tehillim that has to do with your name. Usually it has, I mean, it's like, my name is Yifat, so Yud and a Taf, that's my real name. And so I say like Yasum Ba'amana. Of course, now I forgot because I'm giving this year, but I say it every day. So, okay. Anyways, whatever. Basically, it starts with the first letter and it ends. The pasuk starts with my first letter, the Yod in my name, and it ends with the Taf in my name. So, so that's like supposed to be that from the Shlach, that's a skula to remember your name, and hopefully Mirza Hashem will inspire you to do your mission in life. Okay, so okay, I just thought it was also interesting because I was listening further to this Rav Weinberger shir, and he talks about, he was actually talking about Yaakov Avinu. So Yaakov Avinu, as we know, he got a name change, right? He went from Yaakov to Yisrael. And it's so interesting because Rav Weinberger was pointing out that, how did that happen? So everybody was, you know, he was with his whole family, all the cattle, all the shepherds, his grandchildren, wives. He had like, you know, he had a parade. And he remembered that he left the Pach Shemen. So he left everybody and his whole parade, and he went back to get his Pach Shemen. And Rav Weinberger gave a lot of emphasis on the fact that Yaakov had to leave everybody in order to, you know, get into the situation where he had his name change and got to this higher level, because that's really like where we do most of our work when we're alone. And I thought it was so, you know, when we're alone and we're thinking and we're really doing like Hisbodedus and thinking like what we're here for, what our mission is in life, then that takes us to the levels that are very high. So I thought it was also so interesting because in this Sichas Haram piece that we just did, this Rebbe Nachman piece, Rebbe Nachman talks about how Hashem is like, can't be grasped, and he's on this high level all alone also, where a place where there's nobody could even understand, nobody could even get his name, nobody could connect to him there. It's like there's some connection over there. So okay, fine. So anyways, so when we talk about missions, I think, you know, I've mentioned this in previous shiurim, but when we talk about personal missions, similar to what Rav Weinberger was saying, I think you can't like ignore that the way to get to this, I mean, I'm sure there are many ways, but a way that's extremely helpful is something that Rebbe Nachman helped bring into the world, even though of course it was always there, but Rebbe Nachman like publicized it, is Hisbodedus is really like just, you know, yearning for Hashem and talking to Hashem in a very deep, true way. And I wanted to read another Sichos Haram piece that brings this out. So it's Sicha number 68, and I'm just gonna jump in right here and read. The Rebbe often spoke to us about conversing with God. Speak to God so as to focus on your purpose in life. So again, like in order to get to your, like you're not going to get to your mission in life without thinking about what's my point here and what is my mission and like what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, where do I thrive, where do I not. Okay, so speaks to God so as to focus on your purpose in life. Have pity on yourself and beg God to help you find him. Use whatever language you speak best and argue with God, petitioning him in every way. So this is like a full-on conversation, argument that you're having with Hashem, begging him to bring you close. All these thoughts are brought in the Rebbe's published works. But beyond this, he would frequently discuss the most important concept. If you set aside time each day, at least an hour, to converse with God, you will surely be worthy of drawing close to him. You may do this for days and years, apparently without effect, but in the end, it will help you reach your goal. So Rebbe Nachman says, even if you're doing it 100 times a day and you're not getting anywhere with it, you'll see, or you feel that you're not getting anywhere with it. In the end, you're going to get there. You're going to reach your goal. The Rebbe said that is how King David conceived the book of Tehillim, and he says this in Likutei Moharan 156. He also said that the main time King David secluded himself with God was at night, under his covers in bed, hidden from the sights of all others. He would pour out his heart before God. This is the meaning of the verse I speak every night on my bed in tears, from Tehillim Vav. Happy is he who follows this practice, for it is above all else. Look carefully and read what is written in Likutei Moharan Tanina 95 through 100. Follow what is written there, and you'll be worthy of truly expressing your thoughts to God. So we're not going to read those Likutei Moharan pieces right now, but I just wanted to bring out this fact, Rebbe Nachman even brings in David HaMelech, can you imagine, David HaMelech, the king of Klal Yisrael, he would go under his covers at night and just cry to Hashem. It's if you picture it, it's a very powerful thing. And again, this is how Tehillim was written, but there's the way to bring real Dveikus, the way to really focus on what you're here for, to connect to Hashem, which is the purpose of this world, is through conversing with him, is talking to him like a friend, like a father, whichever way you want to slice it. Okay, so on that note, I wanted to bring in, I think Rebbe Nachman, he brought to our consciousness a lot of, or at least my personal consciousness, a lot of different secrets that really help a person go to where they're meant to be. And and he also gave a lot of chizuk. And I think he wasn't given chizuk to be a nice guy. I mean, I'm sure he was a very nice guy, but I think he saw this also as the way to really bring a person to their mission. So and I've mentioned this before in other shiurim as well, if you have low self-esteem and you're constantly down on yourself and you're having difficulties with self-worth, then yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for you to feel like Hashem actually wants to hear you and to feel that you're worth it. And personally, I've struggled with this subject, and I find that Rebbe Nachman really, he brings it full circle, and he makes you see what it is that a person is, what it is that a Jewish soul is. And he clarifies the relationship that Hashem has with you. So I'm going to actually read a very famous piece, which is full of chizuk, and I think we all need it, and it will help us, Mirza Hashem, get to our personal missions in life if we always keep this in the back of our head. And it's Likutei Moharan Tanina, Torah number 48. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's a bit long, but I think it's worth it. So we're gonna go for it. Okay. So when a person begins serving God, the way is that they show him rejection. It seems to him that he is being rebuffed from on high, and they are altogether preventing him from entering into the service of God. In reality, all distancing is nothing but being brought near. So when a person starts with their avodas Hashem and they're all inspired and they're like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to come close to Hashem. So the way of life is that they feel like they're being rejected. They feel like they're not successful. And Rebbe Nachman says, in reality, I'm just going to read this line again, all distancing is nothing but being brought near. So however far you feel like you are, really, you're just being brought closer. And so one needs very, very great encouragement to keep from dejection, God forbid. When he sees the passing of many, many days and years, and despite his great exertion in serving God, he is yet very distant and has not in the least begun to enter the gates of holiness. He sees that he is still riddled with crudeness and materialism and with powerful, untoward and confusing thoughts. And whatever holy matter he wants to accomplish in the service of God, they thwart him. It seems to him as if God is completely ignoring him and has no desire whatsoever for his service, because he sees that he repeatedly screams and begs and pleads for God to assist him in his devotions. And despite this, he's still very, very distant. distant. It therefore seems to him as if God is completely ignoring him and not turning to him at all, because he, God, does not want him at all. So Rebbe Nachman, let me just recap it first and then I'll explain it a little more. So Rebbe Nachman saying that when this happens, when a person is feeling like rejected and just unwanted by Hashem, they need a lot of encouragement. And Rebbe Nachman's telling us, like, this is part of the plan, like, because anytime a person's going to go towards holiness, like this tumult is going to happen, there's going to be difficulties along the way. And it's going to seem to him that he's completely unwanted by Hashem. So Rebbe Nachman is saying the Eitzah is encourage yourself. Surely, concerning all this and matters like it, one needs great encouragement. A person has to encourage himself very, very much and pay no attention whatsoever to all this. For in truth, all distancing is nothing but being brought near. So again, sorry, thought somebody was knocking. Okay, so again, Rebbe Nachman tells us that like a person might feel that that again, like he's so far, but really he's just, oh, somebody is, sorry, hold on. Okay, sorry. Okay, so a person needs to encourage themselves a lot in order to pay. And he says, don't pay any attention to this dejection that you're feeling. Just like it's all noise. It's not really like what's essentially wrong and what's essentially blocking you. It's just noise, all these trials and tribulations. Just gonna give like a very basic example, but like, you know, like I made Aliyah a year and a half ago, you know, so obviously like sometimes you're just sitting, you do something that you feel is like l'shem shemayim, and like you're like, oh, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? You know, and you feel like God's like, you should make it easier. Like, why is he turning his back on you? But again, this is like part of it, really, by Hashem, what feels like Hashem distancing you, really, in truth, you're being brought near. Okay, and all the aforementioned happen to all the tzaddikim, as we heard explicitly from their mouths. So this happens to tzaddikim as well. It seemed to them that God was not paying any attention or turning in their direction at all, because they saw that despite spending much time pleading, seeking, and devoutly serving God, they were still very, very distant. Had they not encouraged themselves very much to ignore this, they would have remained at their original place and not merited that which they merited. So if they would have listened to all the noise, they wouldn't have gotten anywhere. And so the rule, my beloved brother, is to be, or sister, is to be very strong and courageous. Get a grip on yourself with all it takes to remain steadfast in your devotions. I love this. Get a grip on yourself, right? Like get a grip. It's all going to be okay. You're going to get there. Do not be concerned about or pay any attention whatsoever to all the aforementioned or matters like it. Block out the noise. And if you're very, very distant from God, and it seems to you that you're literally always sinning against him, even with all this, know that on the contrary, each and every movement with which such a materialist person makes to detach himself just a bit from his materialism and turn to God is extremely great and precious. So Rebbe Nachman is saying here, so much chizuk, like again, like know that every ounce that you turn to Hashem, it's huge, it's waves. Even if the shift from his materialism toward God is minuscule, in the upper world, he runs many thousands of miles through this, as you will understand well from the story brought in the teachings of the tzaddik who was overcome with depression. So Rebbe Nachman tells a great story called Dad Tzaddik. I would recommend people to look into it. He should greatly rejoice over this and constantly encourage himself with happiness, because depression is very, very harmful. So Rebbe Nachman's telling us, don't become depressed. Like this, he's like giving us the glimpse. This is what's really happening. You feel like you're far, but really Hashem's just bringing you close. So there's no reason for sadness. There's no reason for depression. Be happy. And no, once a person wants to enter into the service of God, his becoming depressed, God forbid, immediately becomes a great sin. This is because depression is the other side from the Zohar, and God despises it. Okay, 2, and a person has to be extremely stubborn in the service of God, not to desert his place. The little bit of the service he has begun, no matter what comes his way. Remember this well, because you will have much need of it when you begin even a bit in the service of God. So you have to be stubborn. You have to hold your stand and still keep on serving Hashem, even though it's hard. Person needs tremendous determination to be strong and courageous, to hold on and maintain his position, even if they cause him to fall time and time again. God forbid. For there are times when they cause a person to fall from the service of God, as is known. Nevertheless, it is incumbent upon him to do whatever he can in the service of God and not allow himself to fall entirely, God forbid. This is because one must surely experience all these falls, descents, confusions, and so on before entering the gates of holiness. And the true tzaddikim too, they went through this too. They underwent all this. So a person has to, Rebbe Nachman is telling us, hold strong, be courageous, hold tight, because you might fall a little, but don't fall all the way. We all go through this, and this is part of it, and all the tzaddikim went through this, and this is what happens. All the confusions, all the descents, it's all right before you enter into the gates of holiness. So if you're struggling, that means you're doing great. You're almost there. And no, an individual can already be at the entrance to holiness, yet turn back on account of the aforementioned confusions. Alternatively, when he gets close to the entrance on the other side, the Satan overwhelms him with very, very great and awesome power. May the merciful one spare us, and does not allow him through the entrance. On account of this, he turns back, God forbid. So you might even feel like, I got to give up, like this is not worth it. But this is the trick. This is what Rebbe Nachman is telling us right here. This is what the Satan does. But really, you're right at the end. For such is the way of the Satan, the other side. When it sees that a person is close, really close to the gates of holiness, and is about to enter, then it mounts a very, very powerful assault against him. May the merciful one spare us. Accordingly, one needs great encouragement to counter it. And again, the answer for this, the answer to endure what the Satan's going to throw at you is encourage yourself. Encourage yourself. Be strong, like feel good about yourself. And so we heard from a true tzaddik who said, had anyone, no matter whom, told me when I first began serving God, brother, be strong and hold on, I would have run and been very quick in serving God, for that tzaddik too experienced all the aforementioned, yet did not hear any encouragement from anybody. Therefore, whoever wants to enter into the service of God will remember this well. Give yourself much encouragement and do what you can in serving God. Then, with the accruement of these days and years, with God's help, you will surely enter into the gates of holiness, for God is full of compassion and wants your service very much. And know, each time you detach and shift just a bit from materialism to his service, all the movements and changes accumulate, combine, and bind together and come to your aid at a time of need, when there is, God forbid, any trouble of misfortune. So Rebbe Nachman tells us, like just sometimes we do better than others, right? And sometimes we get somewhere and then we fall, and then we get somewhere and then we fall. Rebbe Nachman tells us Hashem binds all these times where we do well together, and it helps us and it pushes us and helps us when we have trouble or misfortune. And here's the very famous quote that is in a song, okay? Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. Well, I'm just going to read it exactly, but this isn't the way the song goes. V'dasha adam sarich la'avor al gesher tsar me'od me'od. V'ha'klal v'ha'ikar shelo yitpachei klal. Note 2, a person must cross a very, very narrow bridge. The main rule is do not be frightened at all. Right? Like, so we could picture that, right? Like that's what this world is, just this narrow bridge. You step up to the left a little bit or to the right, that's the end of you, right? But he's telling us, no, don't be afraid. Don't be frightened at all. You're going to get through the bridge. And no, there's a tree on which leaves grow, and with each leaf taking 100 years to mature, this tree found in the orchards of the nobility is called in the language 100 years. And most likely when it grows for 100 years, it endures what it endures. Then afterwards, at the end of the 100 years, it emits a blast similar to a cannon called an ormatya. Understand this parable well. So Rebbe Nachman tells us about a tree that survived for 100 years and it looks like it's dead. And right before it dies, there's some loud boom and the tree springs back into life. And Rebbe Nachman says that's like us. Like we might look like we're falling, we're like off the beaten path, but we have inside us this soul, this deep, deep soul that's connected to Hashem, and all of a sudden it could just burst forth. Okay. Now it is fitting to go with that which is taught in the lesson at Zamra. I will sing to my God with the little that I have left. A very famous lesson about really taking in your good points and valuing your good points. That is to seek and search and find in oneself some merit and some good point. And with this little bit of good, which a person finds in himself, let him rejoice and encourage himself. So start with the little bit that I have left, and take that little bit and build on it and build on it and encourage yourself and encourage yourself. He should not detest his place, even if he has fallen into what he has fallen. May the merciful one spare us. Notwithstanding, he should encourage himself with the modicum of good he still finds in himself, until he merits returning to God through this, and all the willful transgressions transform into merit. See Yoma. Remember too what the Baal Shem Tov, may the mention of a tzaddik bring blessing, did at sea when Satan instigated against him. Understand from this the extent to which you need to encourage yourself, and come what may, never give up on yourself, God forbid. And the main thing is to always be happy. Main thing, always be happy. Person should bring himself to joy in any way he can, even with silliness, playing the fool and doing silly and comical things, or jumping and dancing in order to be happy, which is a very great thing. So Rebbe Nachman says, don't fall into sadness. Do whatever you could to be happy and encourage yourself. And I think that's really like another amazing secret revealed by Rebbe Nachman about how to fulfill your mission and how to get to your place. Like, know your worth, encourage yourself, get there, work on yourself to really value who you are. So I give us all a bracha that we should all be zocha to see our innate worthiness and to take all our mitzvos that we do every day, some of them without even thinking about it, and like make them big in our minds. They're huge. And like Rebbe Nachman said, just even a little bit of turning yourself towards God is like, in Shemayim, it's huge. It's huge things going on. So, okay. That is Tikka 95. And I want to thank you all so much for listening, and have a wonderful day.